How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. So, real quick, I'm going to just lay out here. I'm going to rant a little right at the beginning because of some stuff we talked about in the comments. I do put chapters now. It's really easy to skip ahead. You can skip through this intro if you want to and just get straight to the meat of everything. Don't blame you. But I am going to talk about what happened in the last episode with Michiru and some of the thoughts that came up and some really interesting dialogue that ended up happening in the comment section that I wanted to bring up just because I felt like it had some interesting relevance and application to what we've been covering. So I'm just going to soapbox here just for a bit before we jump right into the content again. So while we were talking about stuff, some people were making comments, and in particular, we ended up getting on a conversation that was saying that was really interesting about, first of all, really being able to see a different side of Michiru, which, vastly different from our typical interactions with her, especially even to the point where we kind of commented on her tsundere character, and she didn't really revert back to it. She kind of talked about it, like, oh yeah, totally, but then was just doing something else, and that was really unique and interesting. She was still kind of tsundere-ish, and she's still very much not saying everything, but she was so much more open and so much more down to earth and so much more I think is herself. But it was pointed out that Yuuji kind of reacted oddly to it. In fact, he kept bringing up over and over again to how, oh, she's just dumb, or this is just her crazy. I wonder, what's going on? Is she just being her dumb self, or is there more to it? He started doubting, and he was really kind of, hammering home on this idea of, his perception of her being just this kind of idiot. And we've talked about before how brutal everyone's takes on her tend to be, and how I've felt that's a bit unfair. But in this time, when we were talking about it, it brought up something of interest to me. And that's the fact of perception sabotage. It's really an interesting, I don't think that's an official name for it or anything, but it's something I coin because it's something that I've experienced and I've seen. As many of you probably know, depending on how long you've been with the channel or even how far back some of my content you've watched, I've actually lost a lot of weight. I was very heavy set. Most of my life I've struggled with weight, and while I've yo-yoed a lot, this is the first and most sustainable weight loss I've really had, which is really great. I'm still working on it, still trying to maintain it, but so much better, even in just the past couple of years. But along that journey, part of the reason why it's been doing so successfully is because along with changing my diet, exercise routines, I was checking in regularly with doctors and other strides and things that we've done medically to kind of get me where I am today and to maintain where I am today. Part of that also is about working with community groups where I get together with other people who have struggled with weight and food addiction, people talking to my dietitians and checking in really regularly, doing regular weigh-ins with my doctor where we are just tracking everything, and when we start seeing peaks, we make adjustments. When I start dips that are too far, we make sure my nutrition's balanced and everything. It's very, very, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it the right way for somebody who has a clinical issue, not just a bad habit. But because of that, there's a lot of psychology we end up talking about, and that's kind of what I want to dive into here. One of the most interesting aspects of preparing for and losing the weight and trying to maintain this lifestyle has been this psychological side of things. And one of the odd things is they said is they have friend sabotages. Because what ends up happening is that people whom you believe are your friends, or who genuinely are your friends, but who are maybe suffering from self-image issues, or who are just not super well self-aware of how they're behaving, can end up directly and intentionally sabotaging your efforts to change. And it's not just limited to weight loss. This is actually a very strong occurrence that happens with people who are trying to stop smoking, who are trying to stop drinking, who are trying to, like I said, lose weight, or who are trying to, I would argue, probably gain weight for people who are suffering from other redundant eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia. I think that there's a sabotage that can be imparted there, and the reasons for it, they're kind of guesswork, but there's some groundwork there that I think you'll be able to understand. What ultimately happens is that people are very used to a status quo, especially socially. We know who our friends are, and you almost mentally assign roles, they're the funny one, that's the the charismatic one, that's the leader, that's the whatever. We tend to kind of compartmentalize ourselves, both in how we see ourselves and others, and how others see us. And the issue that can rise up is that sometimes people can get very concerned or feel very personally affected by a shakeup in that meta. And unfortunately, one of the metas that often people have can be, the kind name is the like homely one, but you also can have the ugly one, unfortunately. Sometimes, and from what the psychologist was saying, that this is a trend that's more common in females than males, for whatever reason, probably just mostly social construct stuff, and the pressure of beauty standards that is much more heavily burdened on females in Western culture at the very least, probably beyond, but specifically I understand Western culture, so I'll comment on that. Because of that, there's a lot of personal value that people can have by feeling like they're not the ugliest or homeliest one. So it's like people are used to a hierarchy and they want to feel like valued. And you get used to this idea that like, oh, I get hit on or noticed more than this friend. And while that's not a conscious thought, oftentimes it becomes very much a part of your dynamic. So then if suddenly that friend starts losing weight, gets under the control, starts looking really good, starts like appearing physically and mentally healthier, because, you know, as you lose weight, your confidence goes up, and that can help a lot with this type of stuff. So those shifts, or any shift, can be dynamic. Another one can be like drinking. Maybe somebody is a prolific drinker, especially socially, and they constantly have to tell themselves, I don't have a problem, I can quit anytime, I just drink because I like it. And then their friends start going sober, and their friends start saying, hey, let's not go drinking as much anymore. Hey, let's go do other stuff. And then suddenly their own addiction kind of starts being brought into the spotlight, and they either feel just incredibly self-conscious, or they start struggling to control their addictions. And so they can kind of respond and start putting subconscious blame on their friend by being like, why are you ruining this for me? I was doing fine, and now all of a sudden I'm not feeling fine. It must be your fault because you're changing. And thus you start to sabotage. What does that turn into? Well, for me and for people who are like struggling with weight loss, that comes with questions of like, well, you know, you could eat whatever you wanted, right? Like just one donut wouldn't be a problem. Or specifically going to a gathering where like when I have a birthday, for example, nowadays, like I get asked like, do you want a cake? I usually say no, because frankly, a cake's just asking for trouble. I can have plenty of other things that I can enjoy and I can share with my family. And honestly, I typically might start like now that I've like seen a lot of success, I might relent and let them get a cake for like the whole family. But I strive to try and not have very much or have a very, very small amount. And I really try and push for like a small cake. So like most people get like a normal like 9-inch, maybe 2-stack cake. That's like a standard cake usually. I will ask for like micro pans or even like just a couple cupcakes or something, because having that around the house is a bad idea for me. Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, these are rough holidays for me because it tends to mean this food's around, even if it's not my house. If I go out and like I'm social with family or friends, I'm often going to be surrounded by this food that's normally, essentially, it's a kryptonite for me. It's like Achilles' heel. It can ruin me. And so while I've got a level of control, like an addiction is something you never escape. It's like it's a constant there. So I have to be very careful. So there are friends who will, for some reason, decide that it's their mission to bring you into close proximity with your favorite foods from the past. And they ascribe it as being out of the kindness of their heart, but that's a malicious thing to do to somebody who's in recovery. Same thing with asking your sober alcoholic friend to go to a bar with you. And you could even justify, say like, oh, just get a non-alcoholic beer, or just don't drink anything, just get a water, but come hang out with us. We want to still have fun. That's still such a dangerous place to put somebody who has a problem. I'd say gambling is another big one too. Gambling and like even like small term betting, like you can easily switch gambling from a casino to, I don't know, like pulling lotto skins for CSGO or gotcha games on your phone. Like these are sources of gambling that can still hit that high that can be so disastrous for people who have an addiction. And yet their friends who often shared in the enjoyment of those addictions, but not quite to the same level or the same detriment, will sometimes sabotage because they don't want that frame of reference to change. They don't want their friend to change. They don't want their life circle, their self-perception, all of these parts of their life. They don't want that to change. And so they can sabotage. And so I think Yuuji was performing some of that sabotage in a way. these girls, while he hasn't known them for very long, are kind of his first real friends, I get the feeling of. It seems like whatever he was doing before, a lot of times even the friendliest people he was with were no more than coworkers. And he also kind of mentioned last time how, like, you don't make attachments to people because they could be gone next day. That could be literally, like, transferred away and you never see him again, or blown up by a landmine or something and they're gone. So, like, he's not used to forming friendships until he started doing that, and I think he treasures that. But now he's experiencing a real shakeup in the social norms, where he kind of writes Michiru off as being a kind of a derpy airhead blonde girl tsundere wannabe. But now he's seeing more differences, and I think mentally he's responding in this kind of existential saboteur way, where his thoughts are almost like trying to undermine the changes in the observations his eyes are filling him with. And I don't know how that's going to play out in the end. I don't know if that's the intention of the writer, but to me it heralded very similar feelings and tendencies that I've seen. Thankfully, I haven't seen a whole lot of this sabotage from my friends. Unfortunately, for people who are trying to lose weight, some of the worst, like, sabotage sources can actually be spouses, because oftentimes couples are both out of shape together. And when one spouse sees their counterpart, like, trimming down and getting more confident, there can be a lot of frustration and insecurity, and that can manifest as cruelty, sabotage, and a fear of infidelity, which is unfortunate because also there's a trend for people who do lose a lot of weight to lose sight of their partner and start feeling like they can achieve or deserve more. And that can end up leading to a self-sabotage of relationships, where because you feel like you can suddenly do better, that you are willing to sacrifice what you have. And unfortunately, for people who lose a lot amount of weight, whether bariatric surgery or through just diet and exercise, they actually tend, there's like the chances of a marriage ending in a divorce in the United States is roughly 45% of the time. 45 to 50% of marriages do not go full term. This is counting remarriages. So, like, the statistic's a little off because there are people who become serial, like marriage and divorcees, where they go through like 4 or 5 husbands, wives. And that can skew this, but, like, keeping in mind that when it's really easy to get a divorce and you don't need a whole lot of, like, necessary, like, check marks, it can become very common. People fall in and out of love. It's a fact of life. But unfortunately, the statistic, if you lose an excessive amount of weight and keep it off for an extended period of time, that statistic shoots all the way up to 70%. For whatever reason, it can just really wreck a relationship that's not built on a foundation of genuine love and affection for each other, regardless of looks, appearances, or social status. Like, and that's really sad, but it's a fact of life. It's a fact that I've witnessed. That's the most common thing I've seen in these, like, support groups for people who are dealing with food addictions and post, like, addiction recovery type of situations, is the number of people who have had their relationships shatter. And talking, like, not even temporary ones. Those do shatter all the time in these situations, but, like, permanent, like, I have a spouse and children type of relationship. So anyway, it's just food for thought, something that's very real, something I wanted to share from my personal life that applies to, I think, to what we saw yesterday. Or last week, I guess. Yesterday, in my head. Anyway, we're going to jump into it. No more faffing around. Thank you so much for your time, for listening to my thoughts. I hope this was at least stimulating. And thank you so much for the commenters who really kind of got the ball rolling on these thoughts and kind of really got me kind of going along that path, because I feel like that was a very fulfilling conversation to have, and kind of readjustment of my own experiences. Anyway, let's jump right back into the content, shall we? Rookies should stick to the moving in pairs. You better know what you're doing if you want to work alone. Okay. I'm quoting a professional detective, but the words are generally applicable. When you're tailing someone, a pair is less conspicuous than a single shadow. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, because then if you're casually observed, it looks like you're engaged in something as opposed to just, I don't know, wandering around awkwardly behind you consistently. Of course, that can change depending on the circumstances. In most cases, though, one stone-faced guy glaring at your back is going to inspire more caution than 2 idiots who happen to be following the same road. Even the best intentional international agents usually are a male and female pair. A single tail isn't unheard of, but it demands significantly greater skill and experience. Alright, Sachi, what are you up to? A major part of the challenge is that some people are simply more wary than others, as we've just seen. Your target may turn and look behind them at a completely unpredictable moments. Which means that when you're shadowing someone, especially solo, perception and anticipation are the most crucial elements of success. Oh, hi, Sakaki. Hi. Incidentally, on this particular tailing mission, I've got a tail of my own. Oh, okay, so he's following Sachi, but Sakaki's following him. Hi. She seems to think it's going well, but I noticed her unwavering stare as soon as I left the dorm. Being observed isn't really a problem in itself, but I should probably make things clear before she starts developing any unfounded self-confidence. He's like, I don't want her to think ill of me. He's like, I don't want her thinking too highly of herself. Sakaki, if you've got something to say, feel free, anytime.
気づいていたの?
Ah, yes. Yeah, pretty much from the second I left the dorm. Sakaki's eyes widen in surprise. Seems she did indeed have some misguided pride in her attempt at stealth. Why are you following me around?
あなたこそどうして小峰さんの後をつけているのよ?
Oh, so we looked sketchy because we were following her around. I see. So that's how she wants to play this. Alright, Sakaki, I think we all know there's a greater mystery here. Why are you outside?
まるで私が一歩も外へ出ない人間みたいな言い方をしないで。
No worries, just a little friendly joke between classmates.
それこそ悪い冗談ね。
Uh-huh. Sakaki shakes her head in exasperation.
で、さっきの質問にまだ答えてもらっていないのだけれど。
Let's see. My favorite food? Baked beans.
誰もあなたの好みなんて聞いていないでしょ。それに煮豆って。
Yeah, that is a little interesting. But you know what, hey, different strokes for different folks. You'd be surprised what some people's favorite foods are. Sakaki's voice grows unusually loud with irritation. Keep it down. Sachi's gonna notice us.
だったら真面目に答えて。
Huh. The reason I'm telling Sachi, is it?
ええ。
Pretty much, I just felt like it. What? I mean, at least he's honest. Alright, that's 3 buttons. I'm guessing that's the equivalent of 911, whatever it is. What is that in Japan? Like 991? Or 119? Or 115? I don't know. Like, every number has like a slightly different code. And I don't remember. I know I learned what Japan's was at one point. I think it's 991, but I'm not sure. Do me a favor and refrain from calling the cops. I'd really like to avoid dealing with a certain cantankerous old codger if at all possible.
それなら納得のいく説明をしてちょうだい。
Let's see. I think back a little way, trying to come up with some sort of reason for my behavior. Sadly, I'm drawing a blank. I happened to see Sachi heading out and got a little curious. That's about all I got. Sorry. He's literally just bored.
呆れた。あなたはそんな理由で他人をつけ回すの?
Alright, Pot, tell me why you don't just match this little kettle over here. Don't worry though, it's not like I'm some obsessed stalker. I don't have a life-size Sachi poster in my room or anything. You can check. If I had happened to see you heading out instead, I'd probably be telling you right about now.
その時出くわしたのが私じゃなくて、心底安心したわ。
Yeah, but frankly, she's actually proven that she would probably not notice. She's usually pretty self-absorbed in like a book or just her thoughts. I bet following Sakaki would actually be pretty easy, although she would be the kind of person to like occasionally check behind her and look for anything suspicious, so that could be a problem. While I've been talking with Sakaki, Sachi has been steadily moving further ahead. We're getting separated from her. Come on, time to move.
ちょっと
I charge off in pursuit. Sakaki follows in my wake. Now we've got an accomplice, but hey, that should make this easier, right? Leaving the area surrounding the school, Sachi heads into the general direction of the station. She doesn't seem to have caught on for the moment.
それを幸いと言っていいのかわからないけれど、どうして私があなたと行動を共にしないといけないのかしら?
I guess you could leave. A male-female pair is efficient and inconspicuous for covert surveillance missions. You're already familiar with how tricky it is to shadow someone by yourself, aren't you?
小峰さんとは顔見知りなんだから、見つかった時点で終わりでしょ?
That's true, actually, because she knows both of you, and she also knows that it's not likely that the two of you just be casually hanging out. It would probably draw more attention than less. Sakaki seems even grumpier than usual today, but judging from the fact that she hasn't simply stalked off back to the school, seems she's surprisingly weak against pushy tactics. Just where is she going anyway?
肩から下げているのはエコバッグでしょ？だったら商店街じゃないかしら。
I would normally agree, but this is Sachi we're talking about. She could be trying to like acquire C4 for all we know. I see. A supply mission, is it? Seems Sakaki has a decently observant eye of her own right. Meanwhile, Sachi has stopped to speak with someone she's met in the street.
あら、さっちゃん。この前はあれどうもね。
いえいえ。
それで、今日は食材の買い出し？
はい。ちょっとスーパーまで。
それなら、今日は鶏ももがおすすめよ。これからタイムサービスが始まるから。
Ooh.
ありがとうございます。参考にしてみます。
おう、さっちゃんじゃねえか。
Seems like everyone's as much a fan of her as they are with oh my gosh, what's her name? I know this. I know her name. Oh my gosh. Amane. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me?
青木そばのおじさん、腰の調子はどうですか？
ああ、さっちゃんがくれた塗り薬のおかげで、
それは良かったです。
おかげでかみさんも大喜び。
Oh my gosh.
大喜びでな。
You, no. Ugh.
小峰さん、ゲートボールの相手、また頼むよ。
Before long, it becomes apparent that virtually everyone Sachi passes in the street has some sort of friendly greeting for her. What's with the bizarre phenomena?
私に聞かないでよ。
I had no idea Sachi was such a celebrity in town. She's not really a celebrity, she's just kind.
人気者かどうかは別として、小峰さんはきっと外でも印象が変わらないんでしょうね。
The same impression.
小峰さんは真面目だから、その結果はどうであれ、みんなから頼りにされているでしょ。
True enough.
だから、小峰さんが裏表のない人であればあるほど、その印象は外でも変わらないはずよ。
That's fair. I see. You know, considering how uninterested you always claim to be, you're a pretty observant one.
単に、私の方があなたより先に小峰さんと出会っていたってだけよ。
Fair, but why are you blushing at that? He's just, I guess maybe she just doesn't feel like she gets compliments much. Alright, we'll leave it at that.
あ、サチ姉ちゃんだ！
本当だ！
Even after arriving at the shopping district, Sachi's encounter rate is as high as ever.
シュヌドってところリド好き？
Wait, what? What?
ソムニ、ゲハルヨンスソマルニコ。
Are they supposed to be speaking another language, or are they speaking like some kind of like, I don't know, like we have like Pig Latin, which is just a way you arrange like letters and sounds to kind of make it sound like you can't understand each other, even though it's just English.
アブソドゥ、読んどるけ。
にんだ。
Sakaki, please explain this as well.
一度答えられたからって何でも私に聞かないでよ。
Oh, alright, I assumed a renowned classmate researcher, Professor Sakaki, would have some insights on the matter.
誰が教授よ。デボン、人で空グリオ。さすがサチ姉ちゃん。
それは俺も考えつかなかったよ。だよな。
For some reason, they're getting really excited.
一体どういう法則性の暗号なのかしら。
Yeah, so it is a code more than anything. It's nothing like anything I'm familiar with, unfortunately.
ネルフ、シュブレンツェ、テロリーサ。もう、ここじゃよく聞こえない。
Mumbling something to herself, Sakaki draws gradually closer to Sachi. Watch it, Sakaki. Get any closer and she's going to notice.
ごめんなさい。なんでまた隠れてるのよ、私は。
Yeah, you got caught up in this. You just get caught in the wake. You're just gonna go in with it. Now you worry about that? Talk about a delayed reaction. Well, I guess you could say Sachi's pretty impressive in a way, to have completely caught our perpetual, unenthusiastic Sakaki's interest.
マグラッペ、デルパリーソ。
あ、サチ姉ちゃん、またね。またな。
She just held an entire conversation in gibberish.
ここに松島さんがいたらすぐに飛び出していってるでしょうね。
Yeah, most likely.
子供にも人気があるのはイリスさんが遊び相手に小峰さんを選ぶのと同じ要領なのかしら。
Maybe, but I feel like you're conflating children and childlike again, which is not quite the same. I think she's just an amenable, agreeable person, which means anybody would be. Like, Makina is somebody who I think would play with anybody who would be willing to, and Sachi's probably one of the only people who is.
ほら、オーバーよ、風見くん。
Oh, now you're just on board, huh? Weird. Yeah. When exactly did our roles in this operation get so thoroughly reversed?
買い出し完了です。
Having finished her shopping in the supermarket, Sachi begins to walk back toward the school, a satisfied expression on her face. Seems this is all she had planned for this particular expedition. Well, as expected, she didn't pull anything too out of the ordinary in the supermarket.
そう？試食コーナーでおばさんの話を1時間も聞いていられるのは小峰さんだけだと思うけど。
You'd be surprised. It can happen. Now, obviously, most of us would try to expert that, but that's totally something that would happen to me. Sakaki's voice has its usual tinge of exasperation, but her facial expression is somewhat relieved.
それじゃ、ここからは別行動をさせてもらうわ。
Hmm? We're going back to the same place, aren't we?
私もここで欲しいものがあるのよ。
If you need help carrying anything, I can tag along.
いらないわ。
Sakaki fires off an instant response, leaving no room for discussion. Alright, take care.
ええ。物好きな人に後をつけられないように気をつけるわ。
It's almost like she knows what's about to happen. By the way, that's a pretty fun picture. It's her sarcasm face, I can tell, and that's a good one. Might be a good thumbnail, because sarcasm face is great. With a few words of deadpan sarcasm, Sakaki walks off on her own. Alright, I suppose I'll just finish my surveillance of Sachi by myself. Oh, interesting. I thought he was going to switch. When I turn my attention back to the maid in question, she's walking along while I'm peeking down into the bag she's holding in both hands. It doesn't look like she's paying attention to where she's going. As soon as the words are out of my mouth, Sachi bumps her shoulder against someone, sending the contents of her bag scattering across the ground. Well then, any way you look at it, we've got a classmate in distress here. Ooh, it's a decision! Oh, crap! I hate these choices because I feel like I might metagame too much. I don't know, I think I'm gonna wait and see. I'll wait and see what happens for now. Might seem a little heartless, but the entire purpose of this outing was to tail Sachi. If I just pop out now, she'll probably ask me what I'm doing here, and I don't have a good answer. Therefore, it's a standby for the moment.
手伝いましょうか？
いえ、もう大丈夫ですから。
Interesting. As I'm thinking over the matter, Sachi deftly gathers up her scattered groceries. No time at all, she's begun walking again. She's not using the shortest route back to the door. Must have a stop on the itinerary. Alright, that was a weird transition of hearts. I don't think we've seen that one before. After entering a dead-end alley of the main road, Sachi suddenly squats down onto the ground. Wait, is she not feeling well? Considering that sloppy mistake with the bag earlier, it seems possible. I don't think I can justify keeping up my covert surveillance any longer. Aww, I had a feeling it might be a cat. I emerge from cover and run to Sachi's side. There's a strange, inhuman cry from her general vicinity. This might be an even more serious situation than I thought. Hey, Sachi, you alright?
Kazami-san!
Sachi turns back to face me. She's now holding a small cat against her chest. What? A cat?
いえ、私は人間ですけど。
Of course she thinks I'm relieved to hear that, but I was actually talking about the creature you're holding.
はい、私が抱えているのは猫です。
Talking to Sachi is always an adventure. Thanks for clearing that up. I especially appreciate how you worded your response like a tourist forming sentences out of a pocket dictionary.
いえいえ。
Well, it's quite clear that Sachi's the same as always. Sarcasm doesn't compute. So you came here to look after the animal, I assume?
はい。近所の子供たちに教えてもらったので、商店街に用事があった時は餌をあげるようにしています。
Interesting. There don't seem to be any visible problems with its health, but can't hurt to take a quick look. Mind if I examine its physical condition for a moment?
風見さんは動物のお医者さんだったんですか？
No, can't say I am, but I should be able to tell if it's healthy or not. A long time ago, when I had a pet dog, my master taught me how to perform a basic checkup for the animal's health.
風見さんすごいです。
Receiving the kitten from Sachi, I begin a simple palpation of its body. I'm guessing palpation means like physical examining, like feeling down the ribs and everything, but I don't know. Even when you're dealing with a very small animal, if there's something seriously wrong with its body, the pulse and movements of its internal organs will always tell you as much. Seems to be in decent shape.
それなら良かったです。
Incidentally, the most common mistake people make with raising kittens is inducing diarrhea, giving them milk. People tend to give them milk during the weaning periods, but many kittens don't produce that much of an enzyme needed to break down lactose. If their diet is too heavy on dairy, it'll cause severe indigestion. Sometimes they'll even weaken and die if you don't get them treated. You should probably teach the kids that much if they don't know already.
そうだったんですか。私、勉強不足でした。
At least this is a legitimate lesson then, good. As she speaks, Sachi gently strokes the kitten's head. From her behavior and body language, it's clear that Sachi is quite fond of the animal. Have you considered taking the kitten in for yourself? You know, keeping it in the dorm?
あの学生寮は基本的にペット禁止です。
I never stopped Amane. I mean, she's got Michiru pretty much living with her. That was terrible. Well, guess that's not surprising. On the other hand, they're generally pretty lax in enforcing that sort of rule, you know? As long as none of the others have an allergy or whatever, I doubt anyone's gonna complain if you're a little selfish for once.
わがまま。
Matter of fact, Makina is keeping a crawfish in her room at the moment. If you're interested in the idea, I could try talking to the principal directly and...
わがままはダメです。
Again, interesting, yeah. Remember, I thought my theory with her is that like something had happened that makes her not feel comfortable making decisions for herself, and maybe this is part of that.
わがままを言って人を困らせるのは悪い子です。そして悪い子になるのは悪いことです。
Interesting. That sounds like an admonition that a young Sachi might have got from a parent. So maybe parents are involved somehow in her story and the tragedy of her past. A bad girl, huh? I guess a class representative should try to be cautious about following the rules, but I think Sachi's true feelings are probably different. Animals are mysterious things. No matter how indifferent you are at first, spend a little time with one, you'll find yourself naturally getting attached. That's something I've experienced personally in the past. Let me change the question. Forget everything else, Sachi. Would you like to keep the kitten as a pet if you could?
それは。
Just as Sachi averts her eyes from mine in hesitation, a young boy runs noisily into the alley. That's really interesting, because like that is the first time we're really seeing a potential like true self feeling. Because normally she just goes with whatever anyone else wants.
マサヒコくん、どうしたの？ちょうどよかった。実は姉ちゃんにビッグニュースがあるんだよ。ビッグニュース？そう。ずっとペットを飼うことに反対してた母ちゃんが猫を飼ってもいいって言ってくれたんだ。
Ah, there you go. But Sachi's gonna be really sad now.
だからこいつはもう段ボールの中で生活しなくてもよくなったんだよ。
The boy energetically gestures as he speaks, bubbling with joy.
そっか。それならもう安心だね。サチ姉ちゃんも今までこいつの面倒見てくれてありがとな。私はただたまに餌をあげてただけだから。
With those words, Sachi gently hands the cat in her arms over to the boy.
今日からお前の家は俺ん家になるんだぞ。
The boy pets the kitten's head gently, just as Sachi had before. She watches the two of them quietly.
それからサチ姉ちゃん。何？もしこいつに会いたくなったらいつでも俺の家に来てくれよ。
Good, good.
いいの？当たり前だって。 姉ちゃんのおかげでこいつもここまででかくなったんだからさ。
じゃあ授業が終わったら毎日。
いや、毎日はちょっと困るかなーなんて。
残念。
とりあえず俺はこいつを母ちゃんに見せてくるよ。
大変だと思うけどお世話頑張ってね。
ああ、任せとけって。
The boy pounds his hand against his chest, speaking with forceful confidence.
じゃあまたな、幸姉ちゃん。
バイバイ。
それから目つきの悪い兄ちゃんも。
I'll take that as a compliment. You could have left out the evil-looking part. The boy cradles the cat carefully in his arms and dashes back into the main street. That's too bad, Sachi.
ここは飼い主が見つかってよかったな。さすがサチだ。という流れだと思うのですが。
Interesting. I'm not sure why I would compliment you at the end, but let's leave that aside for the moment. Deep down, you wanted to keep the kitten yourself, didn't you?
もちろんです。
Knew it. Therefore, that's too bad.
そうですか。
With that curt reply, Sachi slowly begins to walk away.
私、
Again, the heart.
前々からその可能性を疑っていたのですが、風見さんは S と呼ばれる部類の人です。
Okay. Can't say I ever consciously classified myself as such, but I guess I'll have to take your word for it, Sachi.
はい。情け容赦ない言葉攻めに、私の中の何かが目覚めてしまうかと思いました。
Okay, like what? Anger or something else? Say what? What the heck is this? Did a classmate just confess to me? Specifically about awakening to sexual deviancy.
でも、ありがとうございました。
Why?
さっき、寮で猫が飼えるように、学園長さんと話をしてもいいと言ってくれたことに対してです。
Ah. Well, it was obvious that Sachi was fond of the animal after all.
あの子を自分の手で育てることは、もうできないと思いますけど。私の気持ちを知ってくれている人が一人でもいるって考えると、
Aww.
少し胸が温かくなります。
That a fact.
はい。
Sachi begins to walk more briskly, seemingly unable to say any more. No matter how much she hides it behind the words of logic, having something she loves taken away from her must be a bitter experience. If I was able to take some of the edge off the pain, I guess even the most whimsical of tailing missions might have meaning in their own right.
報告です、風見さん。あそこに榊さんがいます。
Okay, there's a thumb. There's a thumbnail right there. Ernest Sachi reporting a Sakaki and beginning a tailing mission. Excellent. We're beginning covert surveillance. Follow my lead.
了解です。
Cute. Well, under certain circumstances, at least. So I wonder what the results of that decision were.
みちる、あんた今日も晩ご飯はコンビニのお弁当なの？
And I wonder how many choices we get to make. That makes me nervous. I mean, I love choices. It's part of what makes visual novels so great. But like, it always makes me like, because of like, I know that we're only going to be covering like one path, most likely. Because that's the way that it goes for these types of content. Like, as much as I'll be playing all the routes, but like, it's going to be the one that's going to be like the route. And like, I don't want a guide, I don't want any spoilers, but it does make me a little nervous. But the funny thing is that even when I've had many times where I will try to choose a specific path from the beginning based on like my initial like my initial feelings on the matter. And I'd say about 50% of the time I get the path I want. The times when I didn't, I found that the path I ended up on usually was one of the best, if not my favorite path anyway. So I'm not too worried, but it makes me all like, I don't know, like it makes me feel excited in a weird way. It's hard to explain. It's something that most people who don't get excited about visual novels would ever really probably get. But anyway, Michiru time.
何よ、別にいいでしょ。
どれどれ？ガーリックチキン弁当とツナコーンサラダにデザートの贅沢焼きプリン。いつものパターンなのよさ。きっとコンビニのバイトにガーリックチキン中毒の女 略してガリチュウってあだ名つけられてるよね。
Oh my goodness.
わかるわかる。いっつも決まった時間に来て決まったもの買ってくお客って覚えやすいもんね。裏で絶対今日もうガリチュウ来たとか言われてるよね。
Oh my gosh.
やめてよ。次から買い物しにくくなるようなこと言わないでくれる？
ああ、ごめん。っていうかあんまり気にしないでいいと思うよ。
そうそう。あんま自意識過剰だとブスになるのよ。そうなの？
Oh no.
よく知らないけど、前にアマネーがそんなこと言ってたのよさ。どういうこと？
まあ話すと長くなるんだけどさ、他人にどう見られるかってことばかり気にしていると自分のセンスが少しずつずれていっても気がつきにくいのよね。
That's true, actually. It's a rough road, especially like it's funny because like part of the reason why I don't see myself ever being incredibly successful on YouTube, I hope I am, but like one of the reasons is this: I'm not obsessed with what everyone thinks of me. I'm not desperate to get the make number go burr. Like I'm not trying to like make things work. I'm not trying to force success. I'm gonna make content I love because I love it. And because I want to make content that I enjoy watching. Like, not so much like, oh, I like to watch myself, but more been like, I've always wished for creators to cover the games that I'm covering now. And while some people have, most of the stuff I play doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And thus I want to make sure it has a platform because it means so much to me. So, yeah, I can definitely see how, like, you can lose your individuality by chasing what everyone else thinks and enjoys and what they think you should like.
かといって周りの視線をまるで気にしないってのも問題あるし、難しいところよね。
That's true. You can't just like not try.
普段からおっぱい半分放り出して、ともすれば全裸で寮内を歩いてるような女が一体何よ。この女、正気なの？
I mean, touche. She's got a point.
こら、本人を目の前にしてそういうこと言わないの。
ていうか、
Makira, are you eating her
見られ
food?
て困るような貧弱な体してないから。見せて歩いてるのよさ。ごめん。ちょっとマキナ！プリン、すっげ
Oh
え
my
美味しいの
gosh.
よ。
Why meet you do?
あらら。
オーララじゃないわよ。プリン、私のプリン。むしろ食事より楽しみにしていたと言っても決して過言ではない私のプリンを。ごめん。ギブ。
はい。たかがプリンぐらいでギャーギャー言わないの。代わりのものあげるから。
たかがとは何よ。ただのプリンじゃないのよ。焼きプリンなのよ。しかも贅沢焼きプリンなのよ。上に生クリーム乗ってんのよ。
It's kind of a tall order, but yeah, I'd say any baked desserts or prepared desserts at home are going to be better than a store-bought one. But then again, those puddings look pretty good.
と言ってもまあかぼちゃアイスぐらいしかないんだけどね。
That does sound good.
かぼちゃアイス？
ちょうどこれからユージのところへ夕飯を届けに行くところだったから。ほらこれ。
あ、美味しそう。
そのまま食べても美味しいし、温かいハニートーストと一緒に食べても美味しいわよ。
Oh, that does sound good.
確かにちょっといいかも。かぼちゃアイス。
No.
美味しそう。
Back, you vile demon. You've already stolen one.
あんたはもう私のプリン食べたでしょうが。これはもう私のよ。
マキナ、あんたちゃんとミチルに謝ったの？
ごめんよチルチル。今まで黙ってたけど、実は私甘いものにはめっぽん目がないのよさ。
Secret? I was bursting with that. I was like, secret?
いや、言われなくても知ってたし、私も油断してたけどさ。あ、でもこれってユージの分じゃないの？私がもらっちゃっていいの？
ああ、いいのよ。 部屋に戻ればまだいっぱい作り置きしてあるから、食器持って帰るときにまた届けに来ればいいし。
She made ice cream. That's cool.
っていうかあいつ、かぼちゃなんか食べるの？
なんで？
男の人はかぼちゃが嫌いってよく言うじゃない。
You don't know, guys. I don't think we get as obsessed with sugary stuff, but we certainly enjoy it. It needs to be moderation. Like, I even actually do agree, like, even at the height of my most unhealthy, I still could only take so much sweet before I was like, just move on, please.
そうなの？でもこの前かぼちゃのいとこ煮とか出したら普通に食べてたよ。
いとこ煮って何？
かぼちゃと小豆を砂糖と醤油で煮たやつ、知らない？
Huh, that sounds interesting.
うげ、甘そう。それ絶対ご飯と合わないじゃん。私かぼちゃ嫌い。なんかボソボソしてて喉乾くし。
みちる、女の子のくせにかぼちゃ嫌いなの？
It's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of pumpkin either. Am I weird for that? Like, I don't have a problem with it per se, especially when it's like part of a combo meal, but like a good example is pumpkin pie. I don't get it. Like, it's fine, but why do people get so crazy about pumpkin pie? Like, I have family that's obsessed with it, by the way, which is where this is coming from. It's like every family gathering, especially this time of year, it's pumpkin this and pumpkin that. And I'm like, can we just not? By the way, best pie, apple pie. Second best pie, strawberry rhubarb pie. Third best pie, lemon meringue. I could go on, but those are the pies. No pie is better than those three. Pumpkin pie is the best. It's not the best. That's what my family would say. They say it's the best. No, not the best. Apple pie, absolutely the best.
女の子が全員かぼちゃ好きだと思わないでくれる？
じゃあバウムクーヘンは？あれも喉乾くよね。
バウムは別よ。あれはお菓子じゃない。かぼちゃはおかず。お菓子じゃないでしょ？
I don't know. It depends on how you make it. I mean, if you make pumpkin like a casserole and don't add a whole lot of sugar, especially if you add like something savory to it, yeah, it's a great side. But you add sugar to that sucker, I don't care what it is. Like, you add a bunch of sugar, it's a dessert.
そうかな。マキナはおやつの時間とかにいとこ煮を魚に牛乳で一杯やってるよ。
冷やしたいとこ煮に冷たい牛乳な。夏のおやつの定番なのよさ。いや、あんたは甘く味がついてりゃ何でもいいんでしょ。つうか、煮物と牛乳って合うの？
Sure. I mean, it just depends.
マキナは何でも牛乳で食べるよ。カステラと牛乳とか、かりんとうと牛乳とか。
Now, is she actually saying Twinkies? I'm guessing she means like snack cake, like a convenience store snack cake rather than a Twinkie. That's probably just like a localization choice.
まあ、カステラはわかる気がするし、確かに甘いものならねえ。
マキナ、カレーも牛乳で食べるよね。
Alright, that one sounds a little strange, but hear me out. I think that's a way that you might be able to deal with the heat if you can't stand the curry, which is the saddest part because like the heat's the best part of curry, but especially if you just don't like heat or spice, like milk's a good thing to accompany.
おう、そうな。カレーのスパイスに胃の粘膜をやられないように、まずは牛乳を一杯飲むのよ。
What's a
あと、YD も牛乳飲みながら食べるし。
what's a YB?
YD?
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
ああ、焼きそば丼のことよ。
Gotcha.
焼きそば
丼に盛ったご飯の上に千切りのキャベツを乗せて、その上に熱々の焼きそばを乗せたやつ。
Interesting.
丼？白米の上に焼きそば？炭水化物オン炭水化物？美味しいのよ。ポイントはお丼に蓋をしてキャベツがしんなりするまで待ってから食べると最強なのよさ。
So Michiru objected to carbs on carbs, but that's the thing. It's like, so you take half of a bowl of rice and half of the yakisoba and mix it together. And she's saying carb on carb, why does that make sense? It's the same, essentially the same carb as having just a full bowl of rice or a full bowl of yakisoba. Like, different forms, but it really isn't that different. I don't know, man. It seems to me like Michiru might also have a texture issue. Because the biggest complaint I would probably have, and the complaint that Michiru keeps bringing up, is stuff going together. That's usually a textural type of thing. So she might have a very strong mouthfeel, which means that certain things mixing just seems really unappealing to her.
変かな。でもお好み丼とかたこ焼き丼みたいな粉もんよりは変じゃないよね。変。関西人絶対変。しかもそれを牛乳で。まさかあんたそんなものまでユージに食べさせてるの？
People from Kansai are nuts.
そうね。さすがに YD とかの手抜き料理は食べさせたことはないけど、でも私が出したものにユージが文句言ったことって一度もないかな。
She doesn't understand that he will never complain. It's food.
ユージかわいそう。きっと女の子が作った手料理に文句は言えなくて我慢して食べてるんだ。そんなことないと思うけどな。
お兄ちゃんいつも美味しいって言ってるのよ。
基本的に好き嫌いはないし、苦手だっていうお肉だって出せばちゃんと食べるしね。
むしろガーリックチキンしか食わないチルチルの方がおかしいのよさ。かぼちゃも嫌い、牛乳も嫌いってそんな好き嫌いばっかり言ってるから髪の色が薄くなるのよ。髪の色関係ないから。これ痛い思いして脱色してるんだから、わざとだから。そうなの？私はてっきり頭に栄養がいってないからチルチルはバカで金髪なのかなと。嘘！私もしかしてあんたの中ではバカキャラにされてる？
Unfortunately, yeah.
ごめん、それ私のせいかも。
How about it?
普段マキナにちゃんとご飯食べないとミチルみたいになっちゃうよって言うと、いやーって叫びながら残さず食べるからつい。
That's so mean!
ついじゃないわよ。私を引き合いに出して子供を脅迫するな。私あれか、生ハゲ的な存在か。
悪い子犬がーって
笑ってんじゃないわよ。まあ、あんま気にすんな。私も長いこと海外に住んでたけど、
Oh my
ブロンド
gosh.
女なんてみんなそんなもんなのよさ。
She's like, hey, I saw blonde women. I get the struggle.
だから私の地毛は黒なんだってば。ラッキー。
Yeah, okay. First of all, good grief, getting that color blonde from black hair would take like a literal chemical plant. Good night. No wonder she has to work so hard at it. But secondly, I need to see Michiru with black hair. She would probably be adorable. As Michiru shrieks and threw her hands up in rage, it seems that her completely melted pudding of pumpkin ice cream scattered in a syrupy spray across the hallway. Hearing this story as I ate my dinner that night, I nodded thoughtfully, and offered a few wise words. The word blonde doesn't indicate the hair color alone, it describes an entire way of life, tragic as it may be. It's been a long episode, but I've been doing a lot of ranting. I think we do one more scene. There are many kinds of heroes in the world. The famous heroes who really existed, like Joan of Arc, female commander who broke the deadlock of the 100 Years' War. The heroes of legend, like Heracles, the Greek mythology, who carried out 12 great labors and fought the forces of chaos in the Giantmachi. To even small heroes whose names are quickly forgotten, like the anonymous man who selflessly protected a young girl from vicious stray dogs. But among all the varieties of heroes, the admiration of children is mostly reserved for the super category, composed of flashy characters who use special powers to fight for justice in comic books and television shows. Originally, a superhero is supposed to protect the weak and crush evil, but these days, matters aren't quite so clear-cut. Seems mysterious superheroes with unclear motives have come into fashion. I learned of their existence not too long after entering my new school. Toro! Oh, here we go.
Karubi!
What? Spare ribs? When I arrive at the 3rd floor, having decided to finish my laundry early, I find Sachi and Makita screaming at each other about food. Thigh meat, thigh meat.
登場するなり自分のフェチを力強く連呼。これはさすがに予想できませんでした。さすが風見さんです。
I love that that's the first thing she says. No, you two seem to be discussing your lunch menu, so I was trying to play along.
おかず？なんで？
You were screaming about fatty tuna and spare ribs, right? Weren't you arguing over your meal plans?
いえ、それは違います。
私たちは今マグロマンごっこに身を投じていた最中だったのよさ。
First of all, Tunafish Man? What? Tunafish Man, is it? I've been hearing that name fairly frequently since entering the school. Since it ends with man, odds are he's some kind of superhero. The tunafish part is slightly harder to decipher. Perhaps it's the nickname of a hardened warrior, a man so tough that even under the harshest enemy interrogation he stays as cool as and inert as a dead fish. Or maybe he's a socially conscious superhero fighting back against the environmental consequences of tuna overfishing.
お兄ちゃんお兄ちゃん急に黙り込んでまた太もものこと考えてたの
That's beside the point. No, I was pondering a little about this Tunafish Man character.
もしかしてお兄ちゃんマグロマン知らないの
Is this some kind of knockoff Aquaman or something else? Afraid not. I first heard the name quite recently.
それは由々しき問題かもしれません。いわゆる普通の生活をしていれば、一度は耳に入ってきてもいいカルチャーですから。
Now, see, Sachi, maybe, but at the same time, I'm guessing someone just told you that.
そうマグロマンは今や学校のテストはもちろん政治家の演説にまで登場するマストフェイマスなヒーローなのよ
Really? Say, what?
マキちゃんの言ってることは少し大げさですが、少なくともここ三島崎ではかなりの人気キャラクターになっていま
Oh, okay. I see. In my previous school, I usually had my hands full with my studies, so my knowledge of popular culture might be somewhat lacking at the moment.
す。それなら一度実際にご覧になってみてはいかがでしょう。
Oh boy. Is that possible?
はい。マグロマンはいわゆる日曜朝のテレビヒーローですから、あと5分ほどでちょうど放送が始まります。
Oh boy.
あと5分
うん。マグロマンごっこを30分延長しちゃったから。
もうサッチンのサービスの良さについついプレイを延長したのが肌になったのよさ
This Tunafish Man is still something of a mystery to me, but apparently he's a compelling enough character to make a surreal game like that addictive.
というわけで、私たちはこれからロビーのテレビでマグロマンを視聴するのですが、
For the sake of
風見さんも
curiosity,
一緒にいかがですか？
yeah, I think I will. This character's as famous as you say, it might be best to have at least a passing familiarity with the show.
風見さんならそう言っていただけると思っていました。
お兄ちゃんも視聴者になったからには放送時間に遅れないようにダッシュで1階に向かうのよ
Right. Oh boy.
サッチ急いで電源オンにするのよさ
Sachi dives toward the television set like a runner stealing home and smashes the power button. A commercial for a snack food I recognize from my childhood fills the television screen.
7時59分ギリギリセーフなのよさ
やっぱりあらすじもちゃんと見ないとね。
Judging from the childlike sparkle in their eyes, they're settled on the sofa. It seems these two really are looking forward to the show. My curiosity's piqued. I turn my attention back to the television.
これまでの鮮
What?
魚超人マグロマンは
The barbecue belligerent? Oh,
B 遠く藤沢の地から世界征服を企んで早3ヶ月
Oh, it's so this isn't even just like superheroes. This looks like mascots of different prefectures like going up against each other in a TV show.
まずは浜ヶ瀬神社とかいう今にも潰れそうな神社から牛タン屋に変えてやろうと思ったら乱暴な巫女のせいでひどい目にあったび。どこかにもっと征服しやすそうなところはないのかび。
それでしたらこの三星町などいかがでしょうか
Who is doing that voice? I love it.
三星町。それはどんな町なんだび？
西伊豆にあるひなびた温泉街らしいのですが、リピート率の高い老舗旅館があるそうです。
それはいいことを聞いたび。じゃあ次はその旅館を焼肉激安食べ放題の店にしてやるび。
What's with this freak? Why is he wearing that cheap-looking mask?
かぶり物言うなあれは焼肉帝国でいっちゃ偉い人のカルビ将軍マグロマンの宿敵なのよさ
The baddest, beefiest big shot. I think I just found the underscore for my Discord name.
カルビをモチーフにしたカルビ将軍と
マグロをモチーフにしたマグロマンが戦っている。まさに肉と魚のぶつかり合い。子供たちの理解度に合わせた実にわかりやすい設定です。
First of all, team fish all the way. Secondly, surf and turf is a thing. You can enjoy both. Sorry, but is there some point to staging a battle between meat and fish?
いえ、ないと思います。
I see. As I tilt my head in puzzlement at their explanation, the program's theme song begins to play.
ところでさっちん、この CD ってもう発売してたっけ？
確かまだ発売日すら告知されてなかったはずだけど。
だとしたら制作者サイドは一体何をやってるのよさ。出せばミリオンヒット間違いなしの神曲なのに。
I like how there's actually a song playing in the background.
いい曲だってことには同意するけど、さすがにミリオンは難しいんじゃないかな。
Huh. The real world can be a heartless place, especially when it comes to music about fish-themed superheroes.
B! ここが三星町です、将軍。
それならまずは老舗旅館の場所を調べるべ。
Uh-oh, here comes Tuna Man. Oh, it's a human.
待ってよ、レンゲちゃん。もう
Who are these
急がないと
characters?
メロンパンが売り切れるって言ったのはナナノちゃんでしょ。
Alright. Because they have specific designs, are these like characters from a different title from the same company? Because that definitely happens, and that would be pretty funny. And the music sounds familiar for some reason.
ナイスタイミングだべ。あの小娘たちから旅館の場所を聞き出すべ。
メロンパンじゃないよ、マンゴーメロンパンだよ。はいはい。
ちょっとすみません。ここら辺に人気の老舗旅館があるって聞いたんですが。
He's so polite for a villain.
はい、黒田旅館なら私の家の隣です。ってカルビ将軍。
そこの娘、もしかして我々のことを知っているのかビ？
知ってるも何も、毎週欠かさず見てます。
そうかビ。いつの間にか我々も有名人にな
Become
ったも
something
の
of a
だ
celebrity.
って言っても私は知らないし、ただの変質者じゃないの？
Yeah.
変質者とは失礼なビ。私は焼肉帝国のカルビ将軍だビ。
ああ、一応これ名刺です。
He's like, oh, here's my card. He has two tones of voice.
ああ、要するになんとか将軍役ってことね。
ビヒーローものの禁句を口にするとは最近の子供は夢がないビ。
Why does this not even seem like a hero show anymore, but more like a really weird, like, reality TV program?
それならさっさと旅館の場所を教えるビ。
でもカルビ将軍は黒田旅館の場所を聞いてどうするつもりなんですか？
それはもちろん旅館の経営権を奪って大型の焼肉食べ放題店に改装してやるべ。
Aww.
そんなのダメだよ。だったら私旅館の場所絶対に教えないんだから。
こしゃくな。それなら貴様を人質にしてこっちの娘から聞き出すだけだび。
大丈夫ナナノちゃん、必要ならすぐに警察へ電話するけど。
警察とか夢のないこと言うなび。
But she's being reasonable.
大丈夫だよレンゲちゃん、私たちには力強い正義の味方がついてるからね。正義の味方？
ビビ。
それはまさか。
そのまさかなんだよ。
He's like, oh crap.
何も起こってないみたいだけど。焦っちゃダメだよレンゲちゃん。マグロマンは駆けつけるのに時間がかかるんだから。へえ、そうなんだ。
Ringa is just like me. She's like, why am I here?
えい。
Oh, it's an abomination. What is this thing? I don't know what, I wasn't expecting anything, but this is so much worse than I ever could have thought.
うわ、変なの来た。変なのじゃないよ。
あれが正義の味方、マグロマンだよ。
He's just a fish with legs and arms. He sounds like me when I go running.
なんかものすっごい息切れしてるけど。
マグロマンは CO2 を排出する乗り物を一切使わないエコな正義の味方だからね。
鮮魚超人マグロマン。
これが正義の味方ね。
I know, we're all doomed.
ビビ出たなマグロマン。
よいしょっと。
ああ、正義の味方が現れたら人質は解放してくれるんだ。
Distracted.
そこはほらお約束ってやつなんだよ。
この世に甲骨魚類の助けを求める声がある限り
The Tuda of Justice.
正義のマグロは現れる。
人間は霊長類なんだけどね。
Shh, don't question him.
細かいことは気にしちゃダメなんだよ。
ビーいつも我々の邪魔をするマグロマンめ、今日こそ決着をつけてやるべ。
望むところだ。
マグロマン。
ではこちらから行くぞ。うわー、魚だけにうお
Are you
ー。
literally gonna throw your guts at him? That seems like a one-trick pony.
ああ、
くらえ赤身赤身。
He's throwing he's throwing his own sides.
ビビビ
What the fetch is happening?
よし、今日もネタの鮮度は十分なようだな。
Oh my gosh.
こしゃくな。ならばこちらはこれだび。ハラミ
They're just throwing pieces. Like this is a highly hilarious and disturbing program. Hey, these things just started ripping their own stomachs open and throwing their flesh at each other.
これがマグロマンとカルビ将軍の戦いなんです。
Okay.
自分の身を削らなければ本当の勝利は得られない。マグロマンたちはその身をもって現実の厳しさを教えてくれているのよさ。
Okay, I see. For a show that's supposedly easy for children to understand, this grim fatalism seems slightly out of place. Perhaps this program has unexpectedly a nuanced message beneath its bizarre surface? Oh no.
ビ先週契約した和歌山県産の備長炭で炙った贅沢ハラミの味はどうだび。
It really is. It's just a promotional thing. Like, they're just advertising.
この焼き加減、匂い、思わず食欲をそそられて力が。
やけどは平気なんだ。
どうしたびマグロマン。こっちにはまだロースもタンも残っているび。
くそ、このままでは。
どうしようレンゲちゃん、マグロマンのピンチだよ。
ピンチなのこれ。
He's saying, what?
フィッシュッシュ、そんなに心配しなくても大丈夫。私にはまだ
What is
これがある。
what is this? What it could possibly be?
それは
びパワーアップしたハラミ攻撃をなんとかしのぎ、渾身の必殺技を繰り出そうとするマグロマン。しかしそれを待ち受けるカルビ将軍の不敵な笑みの意味とは。
Is that the end? Oh, commercial break.
ここで CM なのよ。
今日は珍しくいきなりマグロマンのピンチだったね。
まさか肉の鮮度じゃなく肉を焼く火の方を変えてくるとは思わなかったのよさ。
和歌山さんか。
Yeah, see, he's trying to sell you stuff.
マグロマン。
本物と同じように動く、光る、震える。
Why?
これで君もマグロマン。マグロマン変身ベルトセットカミングスーン。
Oh no.
何この素敵商品。欲しい。もう今すぐ欲しいのよさ。
You are the perfect person for these marketing campaigns. Hold on a second. I don't care if you wear the toy, if you want the toy, but did I miss something here? I didn't see a single transformation sequence in this show.
そういえばマグロマンはいつも登場した瞬間から変身しています。
というより ベルトなんてしてなかった気がするのよさ。
He's also not wearing clothes, but that doesn't really matter. Then what's that just like the real thing supposed to mean?
よし、サッチン。今日の放送が終わったら、変身ベルトについて早速リサーチしておくのよさ。わかった。
Here we go
くら
again.
えトロトロ
べー
Stinks.
臭いび生臭いび
どうだ筋の少ない腹かみ部分のトロは格別だろう。
By the way, fatty tuna is delicious.
確かに脂の乗った上質な部位だがそれだけだび。
なん
What are we
だと
watching?
まさか、トロが効いてない？
それもそのはず。このトロはいつもの大間産黒マグロではなく赤道近くで取れたメバチマグロのものだびな。
Oh, it's a quality issue.
記録的な酷暑で海水温度が上昇し漁獲高さえ激減しなければ
Curse
し
you!
なければ
Climate change!
ビー伊達に同じ技を何度も食らっているわけではないビ
威張って言うことじゃないけどね。
くそヒーローとしての力を得ても甲骨魚類である私では自然の力に勝てないのか。
っていうか、マグロマンは魚じゃないわよね。足生えてるし。
Yeah, so his claim is that he's a fish that gained legs rather than a man who became a fish man.
魚
魚じゃないわよ。
娘にまで突っ込まれるとはいい君だび。
く CO2 さえ CO2 の排出量さえ削減できれば。
Look, I'm all for climate change and trying to, like, be responsible, but come on, this is really hammy.
なーっと環境問題への愚痴もそこまでだび。最後はこっちの必殺技を食らってもらうび。それカルビカルビ。
うわ
大丈夫、マグロマン。
うわ私は大丈夫だがこのままでは善良な市民が営む旅館が焼肉店になってしまう。
頑張ってマグロマン。黒田旅館は三星町の顔でもあるんだから。
しかし私はすでに投げられる部分の身は全て使って
Not
しまっている。
true. There's your head.
確かにお腹が骨ばっかりになっちゃってるよ。
投げる部位ならまだあるじゃない。だってほら、よく魚屋さんとかでも売ってるあれがまだ残ってるでしょ。
Ironically, one of the best stews I ever had was a fish head stew. It was ruined by the subsequent challenge to eat the eyeball, which I absolutely did, and to this day regret with every fiber of my being, because it was a horrific experience, but I mean, I was dared. What could I do?
それは
何をこそこそ話しているび。さっさと諦めておとなしく焼肉帝国の焼肉屋で働くび。
それはできない。
ビビ備長炭の力でパワーアップした渾身のカルビ攻撃を受けてまだ立ち上がるだと。
I'm starting to wonder he's gonna go straight for the eye, because he's got a spoon, and that kind of is horrifying.
母なる海の恵みと少女の知恵を得て私は今新しい力を得た。
Oh no. Oh no.
新しい力。
くらえマグロマンの新必殺技。中落ち中落ち中
Oh,
落
it's
ち。
a scrape. Okay, it says extra bits. Oh, and like the tiny bits in his rib cage.
あ
The horror!
バカだ。まさか中落ちだと。
しかもセカミ部分からそぎ取った最高級の中落ち。その味は格別だ。
確かにご飯が進みそうだび。
さあそれが分かったらおとなしく藤沢に帰るのだ。
ビー不本意だがここは一度撤退した方が良さそうだび。
This has been the most. What the fetch is this?
だが世界征服の野望はまだ諦めたわけではないび。
変質者が逃げた。
The pervert ran away.
これでここにいるのは紳士のみとなったわけだ。
いや、あんたも十分変質者なんだけどね。
でもすごいよ、あのカルビ将軍を追い返したんだもん。さすがマグロマンなんだよ。
フィッシュッシュッシュ。少女の応援があってこそだ。
Okay.
そして利発な少女よ、今回は君の助言にも助けられた。ありがとう。
ああ、はいはい、ご苦労様。
うん。それでは君たちもマグロの乱獲にはくれぐれも気をつけるようにな。
Yep, be environmentally responsible.
大丈夫。私たちにはどうにもできない問題だから。
マグロマンもまた次の町を守ってくださいね。
もちろんだ。ああ、それと残ったこの中落ちは君たちが美味しくいただいてくれ。
That's really disturbing. I don't think so.
いいんですか？
ああ、
Made after
安
12
心
p.m.
のお昼12時以降に作りましたシールも貼っておいた。
Oh my gosh, it's just disturbing on so many levels.
こんなに贅沢なおかずがもらえるなんて、お兄ちゃんもきっと喜びます。
食べるんだ、それ。
Yeah, no, I'm not.
こうして今日もマグロマンの活躍により焼肉帝国の野望は阻まれた。だがこの世にカルビ将軍がいる限り本当の平和は訪れない。走れマグロマン、戦えマグロマン。この世に甲骨魚類の助けを求める声がある限り。
攻撃の際に使用された魚と牛肉はスタッフが美味しくいただきました。
お決まりの文句も入って今日も完璧な出来だったのよさ。
I think I need to have my brain scrubbed. Can I like what was that? That's gonna take up space in my brain for the rest of my life. Was that worth it? It kind of was, but still, ugh. So that's a complete story then.
新必殺技も見れて私的には大満足な内容だったのよ。
私も今日の展開には鳥肌が立ちました。
Huh. So today's episode was the so-called heart-pounding, edgier seat variety, apparently.
それで風見さん、初めてご覧になったマグロマンはいかがでしたか？
ああ、それは私も気になっていたところなのよさ。
Let's see. It's a little difficult to put into words, but all said and done, it was definitely not a boring experience. It's not a lie to say that I found the setting and plot truly thought-provoking.
そう、マグロマンは毎回実に見応えのある30分を提供してくれるのよさ。
Sure.
もし興味を持たれたようでしたら、こちらに今までの放送を取りだめた DVD がありますので、
I think I'll be fine. That's okay. You're well prepared.
委員長ですから。
I see. You can take the class rep out of the classroom, but it seems you can't take the zealous devotion of service out of the class rep.
三島崎にも来てくれないかな。
そしたらサインをもらうの？
そうだ、いつマグロマンが来てもいいように色紙とサインペンを買っておかなきゃいけないのよさ。
Never leave it behind. Must have it at all times.
あ、待ってマキちゃん、それなら私のロッカーに。
Huh. An ordinary low-budget television show just inspired a shut-in girl into vigorous action. If you look at it that way, children's superheroes might have more redeeming value than immediately meets the eye.
あれ？こんなところで何やってるの？
I don't know, having existential crisis. Nothing much. Up until a minute ago, I was watching a show, Asachi Makina.
へえ、ユージがあの子たちとテレビを見るなんて珍しいじゃん。
True enough, but there was something I'd been a little curious about for a while. Those two were educating me.
なるほどね。
Incidentally, Amane, tuna is good stuff, isn't it?
ごめん、あんた唐突に何言ってるの？
Well, I was pondering the topic of seafood, and a thought just popped into my head.
思考ね。
Anyway, I asked for a negi toro bowl right now. Could you maybe make one?
あれユージが私に頼み事なんて急にどうしたの？
The television show worked! I'm aware it's pretty unusual coming from me, but the fact is I've developed a sudden craving for fatty tuna.
何がユージをそこまで駆り立てるのかが気になるけど、まあいいか。
She's like, oh, okay, that's fine.
あんたが私に甘えてくれることってめったにないし、今日はお姉さんが愛情を込めてネギトロ丼を作ってあげましょう。
Yeah, I appreciate it. Fresh Fish Superman, Tunafish Man. An eccentric superhero, decidedly unlike any other I've known. But if the spirit of the justice burning in his tasty breast can inspire the hopes and dreams of two girls in the storm, well, in a world that's already overflowing with tales of heroism, one more can't hardly hurt. That was bizarre. That was a truly bizarre experience.
もしもし。
Oh. Intriguing Sachi plot development. All right, we were going to end it here then. Thank you so much for joining me. Ranting and one of the most insane, like, tone shifts we've ever seen. That was just wild, but yeah, it'll be good. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm not going to ramble on too much. I don't know if there's a whole lot I want to say that hasn't already been said. Just been a good episode, really interesting. Nice to be able to kind of unplug and unwind for a little bit, and hopefully this is a good start to your weekend. Looking forward to it, especially because we're rolling right into, terrifyingly, December. Getting really, really close here, so yeah, it's really interesting, but I'm all for it, I suppose. Holiday seasons are going to be gone in a heartbeat, and might as well enjoy them while they're here, so whether you celebrate or not, I hope you have a good rest of your year and a good start to your new year. Now we're going to be going towards that. I'm currently in the work on some projects. Hopefully I'll have a new channel trailer up by Christmas, or at least around thereabouts, because that's kind of like the birthday celebration for the channel. So yeah, hopefully I'll have something at least somewhat special coming out then. Hopefully you look forward to it. But yeah, lots of good stuff coming in the future. So thank you so much. Until next video, watching me, see me next. I'll see you there.